Hello, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube. This is King Orange here, back again for another video. And here with me, I got my good friend Deadponic.
Hello? Oh, you piece of shit alien!
That's what I would do if I was super. I'd just be like, you.
Yeah,
Anyways, today we are going to be doing a review podcast on James Gunn's Superman that came out earlier this year.
last month
It was
actually.
during July.
Last
Yeah,
month,
during
two.
July. And yeah, so it was so yeah, we'll be covering that. So this film was written and directed by James Gunn, as it goes without saying, and it has David Corenswet as Superman. And yeah, so far I've seen this film about three times at this point.
I've I've seen
Deadponic I know has seen it at least once,
I've seen it
and
twice.
so seen it twice. So we're going to be covering just kind of our thoughts and just how we feel about the movie. So, first we will begin with just covering a brief, like, non-spoiler thoughts on it, and then we'll get into the spoiler territory.
Alright, so the first thing that I was concerned about with this Superman movie specifically was because of the way that they were portraying Superman specifically and his look specifically. I thought they were going back to Christopher Reeve. However, that's not the case. Although he does have like the curl, and they do use John Williams' Superman score throughout the film, I am okay with this. They are not trying to copy it. They are actually trying to, do their own thing. And James Gunn, for those of you who don't know, he directed the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, and he
He's
does,
also directed The Suicide Squad as well,
yeah.
so had a little bit of prior experience with DC. And if I'm not mistaken, isn't he the one also directing the current Peacemaker show that's on HBO?
I'm not entirely sure because I don't have HBO, but I can check later on. But I think this is like this is the modern interpretation of Superman for a newer audience. It kind of reminds me of The Force Awakens a little bit, funny enough. But the difference here is that where people probably have never seen the Reeves films, this is a good kind of entry point to saying, yeah, Christopher Reeve was a Superman at one point, and this new one is basically it's not a copy of that. It's more of a homage and also a bit of it doing its own thing. And I think that's really striking.
And right away, it kind of goes right back to that kind of old t style tone when for the last decade we've been having very edgy Superman, where it's like, what was I supposed to do, Dad? Just let them die? Maybe.
Oh God! Don't. Oh,
So, between what Zack Snyder did, no disrespect to Henry Cavill though, good actor for the role, just the writing let him
hey,
down.
hey, hey!
But between that,
Release the Snyder cut of Justice League, please.
it's already released.
Oh, never mind. I was gonna. I thought they hadn't actually released it. I'm like,
No, no, it's on HBO.
oh,
I actually have it on DVD. But anyways, yeah. So, but yeah, no disrespect to Henry Cavill there. The writing just really let him down. And then between that and stuff that happened with Injustice Superman and that every portrayal always has it where either Superman's just this potential bad guy or whatever else, it's like, well, we've kind of gone a lot of years with the soul of Superman kind of damaged for all intents and purposes. And right away, as someone who is a moderate fan of DC, it's nice to see that James Gunn has he's captured the essence of who Superman is again.
yeah,
And if you're just wanting a good film that's like just really good for the Superman character, this is a really good film for that.
So I'm gonna quickly divulge a few things here. One thing I will say is I like how they go with the idea that Superman is effectively he is a Boy Scout. He is the guy who does the right thing, but he's not portrayed as like as Orange and I talked in private, a lot of what most Superman stories focus on, they either tend to focus on the human element or the God among mortals element, but there's no in between. Here, they're doing both at the same time, and they balance it wonderfully. And when we get to the main villain of the movie, which you probably already know who it is, we're gonna have some thoughts about that because I gotta say, with the recent passing of Gene Hackman as Lex Luthor, that was my Lex Luthor for a long time, along with Clancy Brown. But this casting of Lex Luthor is perfect. It's the right kind of thing they needed to get a new Lex Luthor after, Jesse Eisenberg kind of went the Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs route.
Yeah.
That's putting it mildly, and trust me, whenever we get around to Batman v Superman, we'll talk about that. Now, I will say, one of the things I do appreciate is how they go into a little bit more of, as I said, the more human side, but they're also like, yeah, well, Superman isn't invincible. He can be defeated or he can be wounded in many other ways. In fact, the film starts in probably the ballsiest way possible.
Yeah, that clip that was posted on YouTube a couple of weeks before the film release, the one about Superman like crashing in the ice and Crypto dragging him to the Fortress of Solitude and the Superman robots trying to help him out. Yeah, that's pretty much the beginning of the movie.
Yeah,
So
that was
when I
pretty
was
smart.
worried about spoilers in that kind of context, it's literally the first scene. So you're pretty good on that end. And then James Gunn, Superman is kind of one of those films too where it's, again, without getting into spoilers, it's definitely got all the things you would expect from James Gunn. Like if you've seen Guardians of the Galaxy or the Suicide Squad, it's definitely has this very like characters use humor as a way to kind of like disguise their own character flaws or whatever else, and they have this very rooted, different, lot of family drama without
Mm.
getting into much details, and pretty much like it's a generally lighthearted movie for the most part. So like if you're coming in thinking like, ooh, grand, gritty, everyone's dying, stuff like I'm sorry, you're not getting that here. You are getting optimistic, hopeful. The detractors would probably try to call it childish. I don't think it is. I
Oh
think
god.
it's like,
Oh.
for goodness sakes, we can have a good superhero movie that's not trying to be edgy every
Oh,
22 seconds.
speaking of that whole naysayers thing, I don't know if you've been hearing about this, but everybody on the internet that I've seen has been calling this Superman movie woke, and I disagree with that completely. Like, I
Well, we'll get into that further when we get into the spoiler section. But yeah, no, this movie's actually like pretty by the books. Like I would actually say outside of James Gunn's previous projects, it actually has a lot of reminders to me to like Sam Raimi's Spider-Man.
mm-hmm.
Kind of reminds me of that a lot.
You
So
could say it went back to formula.
back to formula.
We'll get to that one too. Don't
Anyways,
worry. Anyway, okay.
yeah. Anyways, so we'll get, so funny enough, we're probably going to work backwards in this. So we'll get final ratings first, and then we'll kind of get into the details surrounding the spoiler section, just so we can wrap up this non-spoiler. So, for me, this Superman movie is, I've been down the fence with how I'm rating it, only because I'm still looking into stuff surrounding it, but I've come to rate it as either an extremely strong 7 or a moderate 8. So somewhere in that range is kind of how I go with myself. I'm leaning towards the 8 for right now. If I notice more problems on rewatch on Blu-ray and stuff, my rating might change. But for now, it's a good 8 out of 10 for me.
So my rating is actually a lot more higher. So it's a very strong 8.5 or a low 9. Now the reason for why it's not 10 out of 10 is because no movie is perfect. I will put that out there right now. However, there are some key elements.
It has its problems. It does has some problems, and we will be covering that in detail in the spoiler
It
section.
does have its fair share of problems, but they don't hurt the film. They're minor things that I can say.
By much, yeah.
Yeah, they don't
So
hurt it. They don't hurt it as much as I was thinking, but this is one of those films where if you want to see a Superman movie and you want to harken back to Christopher Reeve, definitely a film worth watching. And plus, it's got
The
the
whole movie in its approach almost kind of feels like just taking an episode from the Superman animated series and
yeah,
just having a very extended version of that.
yeah.
So
It is.
it
It
kind of
feels
works
like that.
with that.
It feels like that. Also, and if you want to see the cute dog, it's got the cute dog, and I like it.
Yeah,
I like.
yeah, yeah, cool.
Anyway,
But yeah, with that in mind, I would say if you haven't seen it yet, I'd recommend it. Give it a watch. See, especially if that's something up your alley. Like I said, if you're trying to find something gritty or realistic or whatever, then you're not gonna get that here. But
go watch Man of Steel. Just go watch Man of Steel.
that's an insult. No, go watch the Dark Knight trilogy if you want that.
Okay, yeah,
Gosh.
okay, fair.
But look, but yeah, pretty much if you're looking for something that's kind of more optimistic, hopeful, but still a fun movie the whole way through, and despite some of its problems, it does a really good job with its character work. You're gonna get that here. So yeah, definitely would recommend it. And for goodness sakes, a movie ticket for most places is just like $10. So
Yeah.
go for it.
All right.
Support the theaters.
Yes.
Anyways, we are moving on to the spoiler section so we can actually get into the meat of this sandwich. So, spoiler warning for anyone. If you haven't seen the movie yet and you care about spoilers, click off now, come back when you see it.
Yeah.
Anyways, you have been warned. 3, 2, 1, 1A. Anyway,
I see what you did.
all right. Yes.
Okay.
Alrighty, we're on to spoilers. So right away, beginning of the movie, Superman, there's a whole text thing. So right away, one thing that is great, like one thing this movie does, and it's kind of a similar treatment to Spider-Man Homecoming, it does not do the origin story at all. It is immediately like thrust in. It's like the closest you get to an origin in this is just you get like a beginning text thing
Yeah.
in the first shot, which is basically saying like, hey, 3 million years, or it was like 3,000 years ago, first metahuman. 3 decades ago, Superman's pod crashed. 3 years ago, Superman reveals himself to the world.
30 minutes ago.
3 minutes ago, Superman loses his very first battle, and then it's just.
Yeah, and I'm gonna say something right now. I like how they do that. Like they're showing that Superman is not invincible. And now we'll bring up the kryptonite.
I mean, the first shot is literally to demonstrate that.
Yeah.
For all of his great power, it's like there are vulnerabilities to him in that it fits into an overarching thing with him, which is that Superman, in spite of his great power, is still a human at heart.
Yeah. And
even if he's not human in the literal sense.
Yeah.
But
So one of the things that I actually appreciate is that and we'll bring up the kryptonite thing a little bit later, but right away, the movie wastes no time in introducing the important stuff like Superman himself, Crypto. Now, Crypto is funny because is an interesting thing here because if you don't know who Crypto is, basically he's Superman's dog. He's got kind of the same powers as Superman, but he's
technically not even Superman's dog if you want to be technical, but we'll get to that later.
Yeah.
Uh,
But it's funny because it's the whistle, and the whistle is a harken back to something that Jimmy Olsen came up with, which is basically a special thing inside a watch that only Superman can hear. So the whistle brings Crypto, and Crypto's like just pretending like he thinks he's playing, and he hurts Superman more. And I love the screams of pain. It's perfect. And then
oh. Anyone who has a dog can relate to this because it's like
I love this.
There are often
perfect.
times where dogs will hurt you and they don't realize that they are. They're just like, "Oh yeah, you're here to play." It's like, "Ow, ow."
So he grabs him by the cape and drags him all the way to the Fortress of Solitude. By the way, the Fortress of Solitude looks really good, I gotta say.
Where Superman's created by the Superman robot helpers, and this is all pretty much from the clip where they the one element cut from the clip is they show a message of Superman's parents.
Oh, hold on.
Which this becomes a big focal point in the movie.
Yeah. So one thing I will say about like the whole solar radiation thing and the sun thing. So for those of you who don't know the whole thing behind the sun, the reason why Superman has his powers is because of the ultraviolet radiation of the sun. However, on Krypton, the kryptonite that's actually on the planet basically kind of grounds them. And basically, Superman is
Oh, it's not even the kryptonite, it's the red sun.
oh, sorry.
A red sun neutralizes Kryptonian powers,
Yeah. So basically, Superman is one
but a
big
yellow sun enhances it.
yeah.
So,
Superman is basically one big giant solar battery, and the thing about the kryptonite, which we'll bring up later, of course, the kryptonite doesn't actually technically kill him. It basically it removes all the solar radiation in his body. So that's why he's weakened. That's the reason why kryptonite is so
so
dead.
prolonged exposure can
Yes.
cause
Yes.
harm to him. So
Anyway,
yeah, essentially they essentially use these focusing lens to like project a bunch of sun rays on him.
and he's fucking he's like screaming in pain, which is something that I have to commend the movie for. Is that normally when Superman is like bathing in the sun and healing his wounds, it's just like it's a Wolverine effect essentially. But with this, it's actual like it's knitting his bones back together, it's healing his wounds, and he's in visible pain. Also, there's a bit of a
Because that's the whole thing. It hurts because he's rapidly healing, so everything's getting moved back into place and all that. His internal organs and stuff are getting replaced and whatever. And yeah, that's gonna hurt. It may help you, but it's still gonna hurt. You're still gonna be like, ow, ow, ow.
ah
So,
fuck my shoulder. It's like yeah.
it's like so yeah, after he heals up, he goes back to Metropolis, which is where we meet the person that beat him for the first time, the Hammer of Boravia.
Okay.
Your Superman has abandoned you.
It's
Cringy, but it's supposed to be.
yeah.
It's kind of on purpose. You'll
Okay.
understand why. So, oh yeah, that does. I forgot to mention about the opening text. This is another big element of the film's plot. They also established in the text that 3 weeks ago, Superman basically, he basically got involved within a conflict that was going on between two countries and basically went out of his way to prevent a war from happening. And that caused controversy among him, and that ties into the main plot. So
Which is
essentially this
which is a thing that it's a little on the nose because of giving what's going on right now, but I appreciate it, and I think and besides, the country that isn't actually involved and started the whole thing is an actual country in DC lore, which is funny.
yeah, it's fun. So essentially, so yeah, essentially this Hammer of Boravia, so as soon as Superman comes out, we figure out, okay, who's actually conspiring this guy? It's none other than your boy,
Lex
Lex
Luthor.
frickin' Luthor.
Okay.
And
Oh man.
and so as soon as he comes back, Lex basically communicates with this Hammer of Boravia. I'm just gonna call him the Hammer for simplicity's
Yeah.
sake.
Yeah.
And essentially what we learn is Lex is having this guy beat up Superman precisely because if you pay attention to the shots with him, he has all these flying cameras around him. And so Lex is like giving him orders based on like attack algorithms. And one of the employees questions like, "Wow, this is actually really impressive. If it's like Lex knows Superman's every move," and he's like, he does. He's studied Superman for over 3 years, like, and so essentially he's having the hammer just counter everything Superman's throwing at him, and the hammer is like powerful enough to defeat Superman in his own right, and it'll be revealed later why. And essentially Superman gets his butt kicked, and from then the hammer's like, "This is your last warning. If you intervene in our affairs again."
Yeah.
And like I said, it's purposely cringy by design, but this kind of leads to a nice detail where as soon as Superman gets slammed into the ground in the city, right away there's a connection, and this is where I really get reminded of the Raimi films is there's like people rushing over to try to like help Superman out, like
Yeah,
trying to get him back on his feet.
and one particular guy, if I remember, he actually like goes over, he actually helps him out, and this is gonna come back later, and
Yeah,
so
that comes back later. So like this guy helps Superman back on his feet, and Superman by this point is too like he's too exhausted and too injured to adequately like try to track the hammer down. And so it follows the hammer. The hammer goes through this teleportation thing that leads to a pocket dimension,
uh,
which gets explained later. And
okay.
it's implied there's a chance it could be the Phantom Zone.
I'm
Um,
going to do a little rant later about this because the implications here. Okay, if you've watched the season 6 TCW review that we did a while back, okay,
shit.
this is
Here we go again.
this has that same implication, but it's not a negative implication here. It's the fact that Lex Luthor, who by the way, in actual canon, by the way, is an is a 13th level intellect, I believe. Level 13 intellect, I believe that's what it's called. Okay, the fact that he created his own pocket dimension, which is heavily implied to be the Phantom Zone, I am like, wow, okay. But if it's the Phantom Zone, where's Zod? I forgot to mention, since we're talking about Zod quickly here, uh, in case you guys don't know, the original actor who played Zod in Superman 2, the Christopher Reeve one, he sadly passed away. He also played Chancellor Valorum in Phantom Menace. I did not know that. So, yeah,
Just, uh, paying respects.
respect. Anyway, yeah, so,
Anyways, on to the rest.
so,
So essentially he gets the teleportation leads him to Lex's tower, and that's where
one thing. Okay, big disappointment here. In most of the comics, the Lex Core Tower has a big giant L. I am disappointed that this wasn't the
in
case.
fairness though, the tower does get destroyed at the end of the movie, so maybe if and when he gets out of prison and rebuilds it, then maybe he'll build the new one to look like that. But essentially, yeah, the armor gets removed and all that, and they reveal it to be Ultraman, who essentially Lexa credits. This is highlighted in a later scene where he highlights Ultraman as essentially even more powerful than Superman is. And again, information on why gets revealed later.
Oh,
But essentially,
who's the actor who plays Lex Luthor here? Because we got to talk about that really quick.
um, Nicholas Hoult.
Yes.
He's also the guy who played Beast from the X-Men prequels.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I like this casting. I love this casting. This is like when we talk about it later with a particular theme that Orange really likes. We love this casting. We both agree it's one of the best casting choices for a Lex Luthor.
It's great because he's both youthful, but he still has, which we'll talk about that more in detail. But like Lex is portrayed very well in this movie because he captures that good blend between genius, calm, and collected, but also unhinged pettiness. So,
Mm.
and that's pretty much Lex in a nutshell. So, yeah. But after all that occurs, it gets on to Clark Kent and what's going on in his side.
I'm a
What
little
goes on in the human side of his life.
I'm a little disappointed we didn't get more Clark Kent, but seeing, the actor as with the glasses, they actually explained in a few like behind the scene or some kind of weird thing. I believe they explained.
Hypno glasses.
Yeah, well, basically it's a project. Basically, it's glasses to project him as like a wimpy nerd and kind of thing.
Well, it's like it's a it's like a hypnotizing element or a hallucination thing where it's like essentially when he wears the glasses, it makes people see him as someone else
Yeah,
than
yeah, it's actually
than
really
how they
cool.
see him as
I
Superman. So, and I think they even have Guy Gardner explain that later in the movie.
oh
But
god, Guy
this
Gardner.
kind of highlights a part where this is actually kind of I agree with you about the Clark Kent stuff. This is actually kind of where we kind of get into our first major flaw with the movie, which is it is really freaking fast paced. And normally that's fine, But the problem is that it is kind of a case where this film is like on overdrive, and it's like, whoa, slow the hell down for a minute.
Yeah, and also
Um,
we get introduced to our Jimmy Olsen and our Lois Lane. I love Lois Lane in this movie, by the way. I love her casting.
oh, she's great. She's great, and right away they get inside. There's like nice banter within the Daily Planet. They all have this like nice like familiarity with each other. For some reason, all the ladies in the movie outside of Lois has a crush on Jimmy for some reason.
I'm gonna bring that up later because oh
I
man,
am literally my headcanon theory. Jimmy Olsen is secretly a metahuman that has the power of attraction.
yeah, and well, Lois is talking with
Uh,
Clark, and they're basically discussing, oh yeah, maybe we can get an exclusive interview with Superman, and that's exactly what happens in the
right. Exclusive interview.
yeah. This is actually kind of interesting
Uh,
because another hark back to the Reeve film, they actually did do this, except there's a change where basically, you know, Kal-El has to go back between Clark and Superman, but they're kind of playing it like, it's Clark being Superman, but it's Clark in the room. It's really hard to explain.
well, that leads into a later scene in the apartment. So yeah,
Yeah.
Daily Planet stuff happens, and then that leads into the apartment. And right away, that's where we figure out one element. Like I said, they kind of start in the middle. Lois already knows that Clark is Superman. She just already knows within this movie, and it's established that the two have been dating for I think about
A
3
year.
months. I think.
I think
I
maybe
don't think it was a year. I think it was
three to
3 months.
3 to 4 months. I think. Yeah. And
Yeah, it was like so right away. So because one element they mentioned that the planet is like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm late. I had an interview with Superman, and they're like, and Lois like, all right, interview with Superman, and
um
that's where she confronts it in the apartment, like, hey, you realize it's kind of a major ethical issue that you're doing these interviews with yourself, and it's like, you got to get someone else to do it. He's like, oh, well, how about we do it? It's like, really? You want to do that? All right, let's do it.
and then
And
it ends up devolving into basically an argument. Oh yeah, well I was trying to do the right thing, and people don't see it that way.
well, that's when they talk about the whole the Bulgaria incident
Yeah,
where essentially Superman kind of intimidates essentially scares the crap out of Bulgaria's dictator. and,
dictator.
and essentially Lois and that's where they get this like, oh, you've been getting scrutiny on the internet, you've been well, and yeah, Clark is kind of he wants to do the right thing, he's trying hard to do the right thing, but it's hard for him to kind of handle a lot of these different criticisms and him kind of being ridiculed for trying to save lives.
Yeah, and funny enough, I really like this scene because it also puts a kind of a strain on their relationship too, if I'm not mistaken. But I love the back and forth. I love how they're like, oh, I gotta stop the damn thing because you can't say he's saying something off record and you can't technically record that. That's part of journalism. But it shows that Lois Lane as a whole is a good journalist. It's like she has her whole like thing about the moral ethics of the whole thing. I love this. This is great. This is a great scene. And then we get to the next scene. I'm 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 just preparing myself here. Okay, so big giant dinosaur essentially, and
No, we're not there
oh
yet.
yeah,
We're not
sorry.
there yet. No, so essentially what happens is so circling back while Superman was fighting Ultraman, disguised as the Hammer of Boravia. I'm sorry, I'm done. Um, Lex's other superpowered agent, known as the Engineer,
Oh yeah.
um,
Okay.
she goes to Antarctica, and after Superman heals up, she discovers where the Fortress of Solitude is. And so Lex uses that as evidence to try to convince the U.S. military to authorize Superman's arrest.
Okay.
Uh, and
Okay.
that's where Lex shows stuff off with like Ultraman, the engineer, and then these group of like exosuit soldiers that Lex has called the I think he calls them the Raptors, I think.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
And essentially he's trying to convince the government to arrest Superman, but they're saying, "Hey, we don't have any evidence of Superman having any hostile intentions, so it's just not worth, it's not worth risking that. It's not."
No evidence, you
And
say?
that's where evidence, you say. So that's where Lex comes up with this brilliant idea where essentially he unleashes a kaiju monster into Metropolis to
Oh,
essentially distract Superman, while he, Ultraman, and the Engineer break into the Fortress of Solitude to try to find any information that could attempt to essentially frame Superman as a bad guy. And what they discover is, so this ties also into the Jor-El and the message from Superman's parents. As Superman states, the message was damaged, so he was not able to get the full thing. And the half that he listened to just said, "Oh, hey, we're going to send you to this planet to Earth. That's where you're going to be able to do the most good." Yada yada. The engineer ends up deciphering what the second half of the message was, and this leads to after Superman defeats the kaiju monster with the assistance of the Justice Gang.
we'll get to them in a minute.
Which
Don't worry.
we'll briefly talk about them. So we got Guy Gardner, Hot Girl, and Mr.
Mr. Terrific.
Terrific.
Okay, I'm gonna go on a bit of a rant about Guy Gardner here. This is nobody's favorite Green Lantern. Like, we can both agree on that, right? Like, because okay, I like Nathan Fillion. Think he's well cast. Guy Gardner is not a good not a good Superman. Sorry, not a good Green Lantern. How he got a power ring, I have no clue. And this is the guy who Batman punched in Batman the Brave and the Bold. Yeah, yeah. I am seriously, I'm of the opinion that Guy Gardner is one of the few Green Lanterns who should be erased from existence. I am that I am that petty about that.
But
And
but that's what works about him in this movie. He's an arrogant A, but he's a fun arrogant A.
yeah, but
But
that's this is the only time where I will kind of waive that because I like Guy
yeah,
Gardner in this movie. And Hawk Girl unfortunately doesn't get a lot of characterization, but I do like some of her scenes. Mr. Terrific. Okay, Mr. Terrific might just be the best part of this movie by and far, and I think he was well cast, well written, and
character, and he's pretty much kind of like the main side superhero within this story outside of
oh
Superman
my
himself.
god, it is so good. Anyway, so yeah, while they're
Well,
taking
after
care,
they defeat the kaiju, and by defeat I mean the Justice League kills it.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
Superman's
unfortunately,
like, I was hoping to relocate it to like an intergalactic zoo or something, and they're just like,
it's like yeah, and then
um.
and
But
then
after this, essentially the news starts broadcasting, and that's where Lex reveals the
oh,
footage.
Lex took the dog. By the way, I forgot about that.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. While they were at the fortress, like they destroy all the Superman robots, and then Crypto attacks, and yeah, the engineer dispatches him, and then
Oh
they
god.
take the
This
dog.
leads to
So
one fun scene which we're gonna get to in a minute. But basically, Lex has created a false flag.
well, he didn't create anything.
Well,
He didn't create it.
okay, sorry.
Yeah, he deciphers the second half of the message. Like they finally decrypt it, and what they discover is that within context of this continuity specifically, um, within the context, they pretty much pull a similar move that Batman Telltales and Robert Pattinson the Batman does with Thomas and Martha Wayne, where essentially what they reveal is Superman's parents didn't send Kal to like, ooh, be this servant for humanity and do the most good possible. No, they actually sent him there to conquer the planet and essentially repopulate the Kryptonian species by, mating with humans and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I'm gonna
With his secret harem.
oh my god. Okay, so I am going to uh poke holes in this because I truly believe that Lex did fabricate a portion of that message. I could be wrong here, but
I don't want to be that arrogant A, but I have to. Unfortunately, every bit of evidence has shown, and James Gunn himself has even confirmed the message to be legit.
fuck.
It's stated in the film 4 times that the message was legit, and even James Gunn confirmed in a behind-the-scenes interview that it was. Um, Now, granted, this could easily be contextualized in later films, but if nothing else, what this does clearly mean is that Lex didn't fabricate it.
But
Now,
he definitely weaponized it, and that's not
oh, he definitely weaponized it. And so what they reveal with this is that because of that, it's turning a good amount of the public trust on Superman where they're
oh
kind of like
oh
scared
oh
of him now
oh
because
oh
they're like,
oh oh. This is definitely a J. Jonah Jameson thing here. Like they're definitely pulling that because oh my god, the things that they pull, like Lex specifically doing this, is definitely a J. Jonah Jameson move, and it actually kind of works. Funny enough, and well, Superman gets arrested. But the thing is,
oh
though,
yeah, pretty much after the reveal, Superman, like, the Justice Gang confront him, and essentially they have a bit of an argument, and then Superman's like, it can't be legit. Like, I've never heard this happen before, so Lex must have had to have fabricated or something. Mr. Terrific says, hey, yeah, I'm sorry, man, but those, like, the forensics teams would not confirm it as legit unless they're certain of it. And I'm sorry, and then Hawker asked the question, like, wait, where would they have gotten the message from?
the
And
fortress.
that's where Superman immediately is like,
Oh my god!
go back to the Fortress of Solitude.
And then
And
he discovers the destroy robots, and then he also discovers Crypto's not there, and it's like,
Crypto, Crypto.
"Where are you, boy?" And it's like, "Oh no,
And
you
this is
took."
where we get to
The funniest scene in the movie where he just fucking crashes into the office, and
Lex's office. He's like, where's the dog? Dog. The dog, Luther, you took the dog.
he's just sipping on coffee.
Where's the dog?
He's just sipping on coffee, and he's like, "I don't know what you're talking about." And he whispers something. He's like, "What did you say?"
Yeah, yeah, well, he says, like, he's like, Superman's just pleading, like, he's just a dog. And he's like, I don't know what dog you're talking about. Ugly dog in a cape? What you say? Nothing. Oh,
I
well,
love that.
nothing.
I'm sorry, that is fucking great. Like James Gunn can do comedy really well, and despite the fact that this is a serious scene, it's hilarious. But then it cuts to well
Well,
later.
and it works well with Lex's characterization too, because it's like this is another example where I like about Lex is you're dealing with the most powerful guy in there. It's like Superman could break you in half, but like Lex is treating it so calmly. He's like, he's just like, what are you
And
gonna
also
do?
somebody's like
And
filming.
then he sees like his girlfriend. He's like, oh yeah, get that footage.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that in a
Like,
little
get
bit.
that footage.
And so
He's
basically,
like baiting Superman pretty much.
yeah, so Superman goes home, and while he's kind of moping and just asking himself, "Is it worth it?" In the background, you see the Justice Gang fighting something, and I like this. I like that James Gunn is doing two things at once. Now you can get distracted by the background, but the main thing is in the foreground. I like that a lot. A lot of directors like to do this. They like to do a scene is doing two things at once, but it's never been more apparent here, and I like that a lot. And then, well, Superman gets arrested, and we get.
Well, don't forget that one scene, like, where he talks with Lois
Oh
one more
yeah,
time.
yeah, 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 yeah.
And
It,
even
it,
though a lot of the public's turning on Superman, like Lois kind of affirms to him, like, listen, I didn't believe you were, I don't believe you're here for any wrong reasons or whatever else. I trust you, I care about you, and etc. And that's where, Superman tells her, like, hey, I'm gonna turn myself in because, wherever they take me, maybe it's where crypto is too. And there's a line that Superman says that I like, and he's like, she's like, you didn't tell me you had a dog. It's like, it's more of a foster situation. It's like, he's like, I don't even, and I love the line she says. It's like Superman says, you know, that essentially like yeah, he's not really my dog, and truthfully, he's not even really a good dog, but he's out there somewhere, and he's scared, and he's alone and probably scared, and I need to be there for him. And I'm like,
Mm.
that's just, and it cuts between that and moments like during the kaiju fight. One element about the kaiju fight, which I feel like we should discuss it a
Yeah.
little, he was just going out of his way the whole time just to, like, I feel like this is James Gunn's middle finger to Zack Snyder, is every time during this giant kaiju fight, he is prioritizing saving lives above anything else. He is,
The only thing missing is rescuing a cat out of a tree, but that's a cliche that Superman kind of
he
does.
does the next closest thing, which is literally rescuing a squirrel from being stepped on. Like, he's, like, and he's like helping people out. He's literally like carrying one woman to like a distant building, and he goes like, "Remember, deep, slow breaths, ma'am." And he's just being such a Boy Scout the entire time.
And this
And you
this
know what? I love it.
this is Superman at his core. There's a Justice League episode, or Justice League Unlimited episode. It's actually the final episode, I think, where Superman basically monologues to Darkseid. I feel like I live in a world made of cardboard, always taking care to not to step on something, to break something, uh, to break someone, and it's a good line, and it really shows that like Superman is always going to be concerned about protecting the city, protecting the citizens, than actually taking out the bad guy, and that's the
Well, and that's the thing. He prioritizes that safety above all else, and he even that's where you get that like the kaiju fight with that also is where you get that one shot of like the pipes flying at that girl, and he's like, like
uh,
he's he's prioritizing that above all else, and that emphasizes even in this scene where when he's talking with Lois, even though he knows Crypto's kind of a bit of a craphead sometimes, he's like actually cares about him, and that's just an element that works really well with this film. Is Superman in this movie is just a genuinely, before being a superpower being, he's just a good person.
he's human, and that'll come up later. But yeah, so
Yeah, so
he surrenders. He gets
oh
taken.
yeah, they talk about a little bit of that too. Like, oh yeah, I was like into this band. It's like I don't think that band's punk rock. It's like no, that's the total punk rock,
Oh,
and they get into that
oh,
later
I love
too.
that. I love that, and that goes into
So
the end song at the end of the movie, which I will talk about maybe in a
yeah,
follow.
we'll get to that. So
Yeah,
essentially, Superman gets arrested, and that's where they take him to Lex's pocket dimension.
discount Phantom Zone.
And now, what they establish earlier in the movie is like, okay, doesn't Superman have a weakness to a thing like kryptonite? Yeah, but from what I recall, there's no more left on the planet. And Lex says, "Oh, don't worry, I have a circumvent for that too." And so what
Metamorpho.
they introduce is a new character. They introduce the character of Element Man.
Metamorpho is his name
Oh yeah,
actually.
Metamorpho.
So
Yeah,
I'll
yeah,
take this.
sorry.
I
So,
got this one. So basically,
go
Metamorpho,
for it.
what he is he can basically fabricate his body to basically form any kind of element. If you know Kevin from Ben 10 Alien Force, where he like touches a surface, and entire body becomes that surface. It's kind of like that, except he can fabricate his body to do that. Now, what they do here is he's able to fabricate kryptonite. Granted, it's not really the real thing. It's kind of a surrogate thing. But the reason,
But it has the same function. Like
yeah, and
it weakens Superman.
also it turns out that everybody that has spoken out against Lex Luthor or is like tried to discredit him is locked up here, and that's
Yeah, well, yeah. As Lex mentions, like I have plenty of clients that have sent me like political rivals and stuff here, and then some are also more personal. That one tried to write a bad blog about me on the post. The one thing I almost hate as much as you is ex-girlfriends who try to talk crap about me.
oh, speaking of that, quick, actually, should we do let's quickly talk about Lex's girlfriend. So it turns out she's in cahoots with Jimmy, and basically she's basically like, okay, I'll give you Jimmy's like, okay, you give me the dirt on Lex, and I will like be your boyfriend. It's
Like
like,
we can go out and do this stuff. Jimmy is very clearly not wanting to do this, but she's like very into him because she was an ex-girlfriend of his, and she's like, "We can be together?" And he's like, "Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah."
yeah, and yeah. So
But
meanwhile, in plot discount Phantom Zone, so it turns out Metamorpho's here because he's basically being strong armed because in the next cell over, uh, is his kid who strangely looks like Martian Manhunter. Can't confirm that,
yeah,
but
strangely,
yeah, it's
but
like
yeah, he's being held hostage by one of Lex's goons.
yeah.
And so Superman for the whole middle section is pretty much locked away in this. Meanwhile, Lois seeks out help from the Justice Gang to try to free
Oh,
Superman from
oh,
prison
oh,
once she figures out.
a common gag throughout this movie is Guy Gardner comes up with the name, and they're like, "We're not calling it the Justice Gang." It's pretty funny.
Yeah, but essentially, Lois Lois essentially like seeks out help from the Justice Gang when she figures out Lex might have an agenda to get Superman locked away outside of, well, for the sake of it. She thinks that he has a connection with the Boravian invasion because initially they highlight, okay, Lex has been selling them weapons, and she thinks, okay, they initially thought, okay, if another war starts, he would profit off of it, but then she realizes, um, wait a minute, Lex has only been charging about an eighth of those weapons, and the rest he's been giving out for free
Hmm.
to their
Gee,
governments. She's
gee,
like, why? That doesn't make any.
war profiteering. Gee, I wonder where they got that idea from. Oh god, I'm starting to sound like Lex himself.
But yeah, essentially, but yeah, she seeks out the help from the Justice Gang. However, officially they say no because they don't want to, as they say, it's like Superman's a federally incarcerated prisoner, and they don't want to cause beef with the government. However, after the meeting ends and Lois departs, Mr. Terrific decides, I'm not saying that we're going to break out your boyfriend, but
We're gonna
I
bring
do
up.
agree there's probably something going on and we can check it out.
Hmm. Yeah. So this leads to, well, they fly in this little spaceship thing, and they fly over to where the entrance to this place is, where he last like was seen. And it's this scene is really good because it's doing like a one shot thing or it's tracking all the action, and meanwhile Lois is in like this bubble to protect her. And I gotta say, they really capture Mr. Terrific as a character and all his like stuff. I actually don't know what his powers are, or even if he has powers, or he's just a super genius. But this is great. This is a really good fun
Boy
scene.
uses his earballs, which
Yep.
I consider them. They're basically like foosball machines on
Oh,
steroids.
oh, reference to Magneto when he has the three little iron balls and he uses them to basically fire out. They reminds
It's
me of.
like if it's the Magneto Ball thing from X-Men 2 and Yondu's arrow had a love child.
Oh god, I love that so much. And so they discover, oh, there's the entrance. But unfortunately,
Oh, and there's a pocket dimension.
hmm. And so while that's going on, Superman convinces Metamorpho to basically, hey,
Well, we get to the scene before that.
oh,
Uh, so second scene with Superman in the prison has it
oh
where
no,
Lex is
yeah,
like, wake up, Kryptonian, wake up, you alien, we got ourselves a visitor. And at first Superman sees the Bavarian president because it's revealed in the middle of the movie those two are in cahoots with
of
each
course it
other.
was.
And Superman's like, I already know him. And he's like, oh, no, no, no. He's just here to observe. I'm talking about this guy.
Yeah, the guy that
And
helped
it
out Superman.
reveals the guy who helped Superman earlier in the
Oh my
movie.
god. Okay,
And,
so this is
and
a
Lex plays a little game called Russian Roulette.
yeah. I'm gonna say something right now. If this is a level of pettiness that gives Eobard Thawne a run for his money.
So he essentially loads the revolver with one bullet, and he's essentially spinning around, and he's interrogating him like, "Hey, where's your?" He's like,
Where
like
are you
asking for
from?
different
Why are you really
information.
here? Kind of thing. Yeah.
He's like, "Why are you really here? Who's your?" who who's been sending you in, who's been tipping you, who's been giving you information. Superman's like, I don't know what you're talking about. Lex pulls the trigger, nothing comes out. He's like, ooh, he got lucky there. I don't know if you will again.
Oh no.
Who raised you as a child? And literally they're panicking, and the guy is such a champ, the one that helps Superman, because
Yeah.
he's like, you don't have to tell him anything. I swear, I have no family or anything. No one will miss me. Like, I have your back, Superman. And literally all this plane going on, second shot kills him
Oh my god.
right then and there. Superman is crying like from that, and Lex's reaction is so freaking like, it is priceless. He just says, "Wow, I didn't think it would end that quickly."
That is
It,
Eobard Thawne levels of pettiness and
and and
hilarity.
he's like, "All right, we're done for today." He's he's like, "Next time I'll find all right, let's find someone else you care about, and I'll kill them too. Who
But
knows? Maybe I'll find that reporter you do interviews with. Maybe I'll kill Clark Kent next."
subtle movie. So yeah, so after that,
Now we can get to the following scene. So yeah, so as Superman is also crying from this, Metamorpho kind of has a change of heart because he realizes, wait, like, I didn't sign up for people to die from this.
and
Like,
so Superman basically convinced him, hey, okay, well, you can create kryptonite. Well, surely because there's no sun here, surely you could create a sun. And
well,
time,
no, Metamorpho comes up with that
yeah,
idea. Like,
oh,
Superman thinks that, okay, get rid of the kryptonite. Like, if you let me repower up, I can rescue your son before anything happens to him. So he removes the kryptonite first. He's like, why aren't you like getting your parents? He's like, it's sun. It's like, what do you mean? Why are you talking about sun? There is no sun. He's like, yeah, I know. That's the problem.
and so Metamorpho is like, okay, I'll create a sun or a miniature sun. It's like,
I can't create a sun, but I can create something that's like a sun.
yeah, okay, science lesson, folks. Okay, in order to create a sun, like in Spider-Man 2, which we're gonna do, I have
I
to,
think Metamorpho could do what Dr. Octavius was
oh
trying to
my god,
achieve the
oh my
entire
god,
movie.
okay. In order to create a
The
sun
power of
like,
the sun in the
oh
palm of
my
my hands. Or in this case, the power of the sun is his hands.
so in order to create a sun like that specifically, you basically have to mix two hydrogen atoms together. But in order to do that, the temperature has to be, oh, I don't know, 100 million degrees Celsius. Yeah, no, there's no way that's happening. But,
Ask me the bullshit button.
yeah, pretty much.
Uh, so that's kind of where we get into another big thing with this movie. There are plot elements that can be a little bit messy where things just kind of very conveniently fall into place sometimes. And it's just like, no, bullshit button.
Nine, 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 nine. Sorry.
But essentially Superman gets his powers back, but they're not like all the way recharged. So because of that, he's still vulnerable. So
I
like
forgot
even
about
after
Crypto. Forgot about
well,
what they did with Crypto. Crypto literally has this thing attached to his head, and he's like in this sphere, and he's chasing after a squirrel because of course they would do that. And it's like, oh my god, Lex Luthor, you monster, doing that to a dog. Like, okay,
yeah. But
yeah,
yeah, he rescues Metamorpho's dog or not dog, sorry,
son.
son. And then he rescues Crypto. That's why I was thinking dog. And however, because Superman's not fully recharged yet, like, he's still infected with kryptonite poisoning, so he's still weaker, even though he has some of his powers back. Um, the Raptors are able to like attack him.
Yeah. And so while that's going on, Mr. Terrific and Lois go into they find the entrance. It turns out that when you make your own pocket dimension, it can become unstable, including making a black hole. Which, if anybody knows your science, a black hole is not something you want to fuck around with. Because basically, this is going to be a thing for Act 3. Basically, it's sucking all the stuff into it, and if it gets out of control, it can actually break out of that dimension and swallow, well, Metropolis in a nutshell. But, well, they actually find Superman and Metamorpho get out, and then, well, because
Oh yeah, Mr. Terrific helps them escape. However, Superman's been infected with the kryptonite poisoning, so Mr. Terrific's essentially saying like, "Hey, he needs to rest for a day."
and that's where we get the Ma and Pa Kent. Now I'm gonna go off. I'm gonna say something right now. I am not a fan of the way they cast. Like I'm not a fan of Ma and Pa Kent. This version at least, because for me, I'm okay with how they live in Kansas, all that, but I don't like the kind of the southern accent kind of thing going on. But it's an important scene.
I feel like it's okay with Ma. I think Ma Kent's kind of the only one that's a little exaggerated on
Yeah,
it.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah. But basically Podkent's like, "Hey, yeah." Basically he gives them an inspiring speech like you are basically
First Lois ends up seeing. Well, this leads to also a scene where, first of all, Lois learns about like a little bit of Clark's like childhood and all that through everything he was into, which kind of helps. And then essentially, cutting into a different scene. Once when Lex figures out Superman escaped,
oh boy.
he's not happy.
Oh, he's
He
not
is
happy.
not happy. He goes into a full rage, and this is where the girlfriend that was like in cahoots with Jimmy, Lex kind of like very subtly abuses her a little bit.
Oh.
And that's where she's kind of like, Jimmy, I can't do this anymore. Please, like, I'll send you everything I got to expose him.
And then she
And
gets shoved into the pocket dimension.
yeah, but when she sends them to Jimmy, Jimmy looks at them for sure. He's like, "You just sent me a bunch of like sexy photos. What the fuck?"
But then
And
Lois.
then Lois gets a look at him, and they're like, "Wait a minute." Looks at the background, shows like contract deals and maps and stuff, and she's like, "Jimmy, your hot ex is a genius." And he's like, "I don't know I ever said the word hot, but okay." And what it's revealed through those scenes is that Lex's goal with with the whole incident with Bulgaria invading
The other country.
Jomahad or something like that,
Yeah.
is that essentially once when the invasion is complete, Lex will get half of the country.
And he it actually it shows that section of the country that he plans to.
Luthor.
Oh my god! You know they were gonna do that. I thought they were gonna do Lexville, but it's like Luthoria. Oh, you guys are being so subtle. Like,
And dude, what's actually funny is like that is a scene that's revealed later, but funny enough, there is actually a brief throwaway line in earlier in the movie that actually kind of gives it away, but it's easy for it to fly over everyone's head. Because when the scene is revealed that the Bulgarian president is working with Lex, Lex is like, "Hey, I brought you a donut," and has Ultraman just holding a donut for him. And from this restaurant. It's from that donut place I really like. That's really good. And Lex like, he's like, "I know, right? They are really good. I've been thinking of opening one in my half." It is a very throwaway line. It would flip, you know. It's like I've been thinking of Obi-Wan in my half of the place. But so it's like it's very vague at first, but then you figure out what he meant. Um, but yeah, essentially Lex, that's where that intention is revealed. However, Lex loses his patience on trying to find Superman, so he's like, "All right, if we can't find him, we'll create an incident that will force him to come to us."
and so he basically starts the cataclysm for because the unstable pocket dimension basically starts spilling out into Metropolis. And so, the Justice Gang is doing their best to kind of keep it contained. They really need Superman's help. So then, Superman heals up, gets his shit together, and he flies off to take on to deal with this.
Well, that's where you get the heartfelt message between Paul Kent too, which is
Yeah,
really good. Where because Superman feels very like this is where the down moment where he's like, "I don't know who I am, Paul. I was sent here to hurt people." And Paul says a message thing where he says, "I think what you wanted that message to mean says a lot more about you than what it actually meant." And he says like, "Hey, and he's like, "Look, parents aren't for telling their kids who they're supposed to be. We're just here. We're just here to give you the best tools so you can learn and make your mistakes on your own. And he's like, your choices and decisions, that's what makes you who you are. And they have a moment, and then yeah, Mr. Terrific contacts Clark, and he's like, hey, we have a problem.
A pretty big one. So that leads to some. Okay, so it leads to the fight with Ultraman, which. Okay, this is Orange's whole thing, and he does this to me all the time. He's done this for the last couple weeks. Basically, Ultraman is like basically countering Superman's moves, and it's also revealed here that
Well, we'll get to that
Oh,
in
okay.
a second. Yeah, so essentially covering the Ultraman. So Ultraman and the Engineer attack Superman, and their plan to kill Superman is Ultraman is gonna like beat Superman down, and then the Engineer is going to fill
Cover.
Superman's lungs with like nanites, so like
Yep.
micro machines,
Yep.
and essentially cut off his air.
And how does Superman play deal with this?
Fly all the way to space, and then
Yeah,
um
it's a great scene. It's a great solution to an unconventional problem. And then we get the fight with Ultraman and the like the
well, yeah, and then it's revealed. Because another aspect Superman questioned throughout the movie is, wait a minute, how did Lex get access to the Fortress of Solitude? He shouldn't have gained access to it because it only responds to my signature. And that's when it's revealed Ultraman is a clone of Superman.
Yeah, so I will kind of talk about this. So because it's established that Lex Luthor has been studying Superman for over 3 years, it's entirely possible that he got like a sample of his DNA to create
Well,
Ultraman.
he does. He says, after watching the aftermath of some of your battles, I was eventually lucky to get a hair strand
Yeah,
from one of them.
and then we get
He
so
used that as a signature for the clone. And he says, he's like, it's like this clone. Unfortunately, it came with caveats. This clone is somehow even more dumb than you are, if that's even possible. However, he is easier to control and more powerful. And that's when Lex is like gloating and all that, and Superman saying about like, "Hey, your invasion plans aren't going to work because I called for help." And so while the invasion is going on, it's revealed that the Justice Gang was called in for assistance. And one of the kids that was like really praying for Superman to show up in their time of need, Guy Gardner saves his life, and he's like, "Sorry, kid, Superman couldn't make it, but you got an
right.
upgrade."
And I'm gonna say something right here. I do like the scene with Hawk Girl where she like dives through the entire building, grabs the dictator, and he's like, You won't kill me. You're
You and Superman are like moral. You're driven by moral principles. You won't kill me. She's just like, I'm not Superman.
bye bye." Very Black Widow moment here. You could tell that James Gunn was using his knowledge from Marvel to basically make this movie, and I appreciate that. And then we get the best
Well,
line, the best like
well, yeah, because Superman's like, Lex, you've lost. You can't. And he's like, Lex is like, I think you've over. This is the moment where Lex's pettiness is shown throughout. Is Lex is like, I think you overestimate my value in Jamova. I didn't create. I did not try to kill you so I could let the invasion proceed. I created the Bulgarian invasion so I would have an excuse to terminate you. And,
I love this. And so, the Ultraman and
and,
yeah, yeah. So
and he's like, you're driven by envy. Like, well, of course I am. I'm not dead. It's like I'm not blind. Yeah, anytime I get compared to the likes of to Einstein or Galileo, I have a little bit of vomit come out up in my mouth. But at least they did something. At least they didn't land with some divine powers and wore some ridiculous costume and became the center of the world's attention. My envy is a calling. It is the sole hope for humanity's survival because it has given me the strength to annihilate you. 1A!
what
1A!
what it is perfect. It's like this actor like he embodies Lex Luthor to a T. It is perfect. It's like I can't get enough of his like. This is a performance that steals the show. And if you didn't care about the Superman stuff, just watch the Lex Luthor stuff. It is so good. And of course, how does Superman get out of the situation? Because Ultraman's just countering his moves. Well, there was one thing he didn't count on: the dog.
The dog. The dog. So yeah, Crypto comes in, and Superman just says, "Crypto, get the toys."
Right.
And Crypto starts like eating all the cameras and looks like no. And because of that, he starts carrying Ultraman. And once when it's revealed Ultraman is a clone, what I noticed too, which kind of ties into that line about the world being cardboard, is up until this point, Superman's been very like has held back a little bit on his attack output. But with Ultraman, he's just going all out because he knows he can take it.
Yeah,
He's like, sorry, chum.
yeah, I really like this. And also, so while this is going on, so the actual like the cataclysm as I call it, it basically it kind of destroys a little bit of Lex Tower, but his office, like his command center, of course it has it's a floating like flying thing. And also while this is going on, Lois takes Mr. Terrific's little spaceship and rescues most of the Daily Planet staff.
Daily Planet, and well, yeah, and they're also like piecing all the evidence together and like writing an article to expose Lex.
I love
And so eventually, Superman once when he encounters Ultraman, the Raptors come in to try to kill him. Superman and Crypto just completely dispatch them. And then Ultraman re-engages, and he has Superman pinned down. He even breaks one of his arms. But Superman essentially, notices the black hole, and he basically sees, a giant bus that's, about to come in. So he essentially uses his arm, pulls Ultraman to get hit by the bus, and sucked into the black hole.
Yeah.
Tease for Bizarro, perhaps?
Maybe.
But essentially that happens. Mr. Terrific's like, "Hey, what are you doing just laying there? We got work to do." He's like, "I'm not just laying around. I'm doing important things here." And that's where Lex realizes, crap, I've lost Ultraman and everything else. So he's like, "Okay, quickly, we're gonna retreat to the pocket dimension." Superman intercepts, and that's where Lex kind of has he's like, "You little piece of shit alien!"
And Superman has
and Superman goes on this really grandiose speech.
And I think this gets to the core of who Superman is. He basically says, "I'm just as human as the next person. I make mistakes, and every day I put one foot."
I get scared, and I do what everyone else does and just puts the best foot forward possible because that's what being human is. And for the sake of the world, for the sake of the world and yourself, I hope you can one day understand that. But Lex, of course, is being egocentric. He's like, "Oh, isn't that adorable, you self-righteous, pretentious little..."
And then,
little shit.
Crypto comes
But I got orders from the government. If not today, I will hunt you dead. Crypto. Crypto beats the living heck out of him, Hulk style on Loki.
Puny God. Puny God.
Superman's like, no, Crypto, drop him.
And so, Mr. Terrific kind of basically saves the day by basically shutting off the portal, and which it doesn't really it stops all the cataclysm, but then
it starts reclosing.
Yeah, and
then after that, Lex sees on the news, oh crap! The news gets the information about Lex conspiring with the Bulgarian government, and yeah, his reputation has been tarnished. There's even a funny news thing. It's like I think we finally have found the one thing that Republicans and Democrats can agree on, and that's Lex Luthor sucks.
Oh, that's not a tap on the nose. Oh my god, that's not subtle at all, given
And
current
yeah, so
events.
Lex is tarnished. He gets arrested, and yeah, pretty much that kind of leads to the end where Superman is like, Miss Lane, perhaps we could go over here and conduct an interview. And
Well, floating kiss. It's a classic Superman thing. I
hey,
re-
it's romantic. You can't go wrong
very
with it.
very, and I love it, and I think it's really good. And okay, so end
I
of
do love the scene where the chief of the Daily Planet's like, so how long have those two been going on? Jimmy's like, oh, a few months.
so
Does
yeah,
lead me to wonder, like, do you think Jimmy knows that Superman's Clark Kent? Do you think he knows, like, and he just hasn't said anything?
I think so, but it could be a case of he's Jimmy's not an idiot, but he's also not that super intelligent. So it's possible, but we don't know for sure. So
Oh yeah, and then the ex-girlfriend's like, oh, now we can be together forever. And she's like, yep,
mm,
yep,
yep,
totally.
yep. It's
Uh,
great. And then, well, the post credit scene turns out, well,
oh,
Supergirl.
well, we got to get to the final scene. So final scene of the movie, Superman's getting patched up by the Superman robots. He rebuilds most of them,
Oh, there was
and
there's a cute little gag with one of the robots where she's like, he looked at me, kind of thing.
oh yeah, that was at the beginning. And then Four's like, he's like, it'd be nice if I had a name. He's like, well, Four's a name. So was Gary.
Actually, I think that robot is voiced by the same guy who does the voice of K2SO, Alan something.
Yeah, I think it is. So Superman, so then eventually the Fortress of Solitude has like a crash sound from the disc. Superman's like, what the heck was that? And then walks in Tara, and she's
Hmm.
like, hey, cuz, oh, is that my dog? Crypto.
Where were you? Like, and she's like, oh, I've been partying. It's like, wait, what?
Yeah, she parties at places with red suns because Kryptonians can't get drunk on a yellow sun planet.
Oh yeah.
And And Kara takes crypto, and yeah, so they're off. And then they're like, shall we play your parents thing?" And he finds it soothing, and it shows his childhood with mom, pa, Kent,
Yeah, and then it gets
and so
the
then it
end
plays
song.
the punk rock in the background.
The end song during the credits is really good. Actually, hang on, let me just check. It is called "The Mighty Crowd Joys." It is a it is such a good song. Like I listen to this all the time, and oh my god, like this Clark Kent, I could totally buy that he's like into like punk rock and all that. That is actually a really nice detail. But yeah, that was Superman 2025. And I'm not gonna lie, like when I came home from watching it, like most superhero movies, I'm like, oh yeah, that was a good movie, or that was all right. But this one, it gave me hope, and that's the biggest strength of this movie is that it gave me hope, and it's meant to
It's
be.
optimistic. It's warm-hearted.
I
You
love
feel
it.
good departing from it.
I
You
love
feel
it.
good departing from it.
I love it.
And and all around what James Gunn was aiming to do, he did very well. Now, as mentioned, is the film perfect? No, there's absolutely some problems. The pacing is a little fast because the quiet moments are really good. There's just not a lot of them. And it's a case of, I hope now in the future, it's kind of like, hey, it's okay to slow down a little bit every once in a while. And then there's also some logistical issues with the plot, with how certain things play out and whether or not the mechanics of everything makes a whole lot of sense. But those are comparatively, and then of course, like certain characters like Hawk Girl aren't given the most characterization. So there are minor problems here and there, but they don't detract from the overall viewing experience.
I really like
It's
this film. I really like this. I would almost call this a perfect film if it wasn't for those elements. But I will say, like, this is a film that you should at least go see or at least buy on Blu-ray. It is that good. It is like if it wasn't for those little elements, if they fixed those, I would not be surprised if like people say, "Oh, this is a 10 out of 10 movie." I just really enjoy it because it really is that it was like I think Orange basically said it best in private. He basically says like, "I'm cautiously optimistic. Please don't suck." And well, it was really good. And I'm like,
It's nice to know that my cautious optimism every once in a while is met with a pleasant surprise.
yeah,
Because DC always struggle with their track record for a long, long time. But if they continue pumping out movies with this kind of quality, or ideally some even a little bit better, then they'll be in a good place. They
like
just need to keep it up.
like
And
I always say that DC is better with the animated movies, where Marvel is kind of better with the live action, but even Marvel's having problems with that. So it's really 50-50 at this point.
I mean, the DC has a golden opportunity to really try to really do good with their set of characters, and I think they can. Because I think Superman is kind of almost that core basis where if you get Superman right, you have a good foundation for the rest of DC because let's be for real, Superman is the heart and soul of DC.
Yeah, he was one of the first superheroes that was created by DC, and he was
He is the first. Like he was the first mainline superhero ever conceived.
yeah. And if they did such a good job with
He's
this
almost
film,
100 years old.
yeah, crazy how that works. But yeah, so if they could get him right, surely they could get Wonder Woman, Batman, The Flash. Oh God, The Flash. We have to cover that at some point. We
We
have to.
will We will cover. Oh gosh, I don't know which would be more painful, covering the Flash movie or covering the later seasons of the television show.
I
I
mean,
don't know which one would be more
I
painful.
personally rather cover the Flashpoint Paradox because that's a good movie actually. Funny
Oh,
enough.
the animated movie. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd be down for that. But
Anywho,
yeah, as a whole, this Superman movie, pretty good.
yeah,
Pretty good.
it's a
Pretty good.
very good movie. I would highly recommend buying it or finding it on a streaming service because it's been out
If
for
nothing else, watch on HBO.
yeah
If nothing else.
yeah and yeah that so and I will say even though it does have a few things like say like it has a few references to the Christopher Reeve films, particularly because John Williams' score was used in this film. It doesn't overshadow. It doesn't like affect the film. It's something you'll probably notice. It's like, oh yeah, I recognize that. That's kind of what.
It's kind of like an interesting blend between Christopher Reeve's Superman, the Smallville TV show, and episodes from the Superman animated series.
Yeah,
It's kind of like those three put together a little bit.
I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. It's like this is one of those films that inspires you to do a good thing. Like if James Gunn continues making films like these, like particularly with superhero films, I think we're going to do really well. And this is going to be
We get a new Superman too, so we can get General Zod.
oh no. I'm kind of worried about that because after Man of Steel, I'm kind of worried how they're going to handle Zod because you can't do like the classic Zod, but you can't do Man of Steel Zod either. So what are you going to do? Are you going to go with the petty route? Are you going to be, the fearmonger or the warrior?
Already set something up interesting with Zod, where they could probably write him as I think something I would go for, given James Gunn's direction, is maybe have Zod as. It'd be interesting if maybe they establish Zod as someone who is hell bent on kind of repopulating Krypton and whatever else, and perhaps he's kind of someone when he sees that Superman wasn't doing that, then he's kind of like, well, fine, I'll do it myself
Oh god,
type
the Thanos thing.
ordeal where it's like, all right, no, you threw in your lot with humanity, screw you. We're gonna kill you off, and then we'll take over the planet ourselves.
Yeah. So anyway,
And maybe you could even tie that in to give, uh, maybe even give Jor-El a small redemption, where maybe they could say, like what I would do with Jor-El is maybe they could say he caved into pressure from Zod to leave that message for him because Zod saying like, look, if he doesn't conquer the planet, how else are we gonna save our race?
Yeah,
And so maybe he could cave under pressure for a bit, but then Jor-El realizes that he was wrong and left like an updated message that Zod like intercepted and prevented from being delivered.
yeah. So anyway, guys, thank you guys so much for listening to this. So it's this was meant to be like almost like an hour and a half. We're approaching that, but I I really like this movie, and hopefully we can do more of these. And maybe next time we'll do one of Orange's favorite superhero movies down the line. And
Indeed.
God help me that he actually gets dressed up for that part. No spoilers what that is. Oh no. Anyway,
Um, yeah, we'll get to that, and then hopefully, if Deadponic ends up seeing Fantastic Four, we might cover that as well eventually.
yeah.
So we'll yeah, but we'll see. In the meantime, stay tuned for more content coming our way. I'm know Deadponic has a good amount of plans for his channel, and I still got a few more videos that I'm making as well. So in the meantime, assuming that you all made it this far, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed it, please consider giving it a like, subscribing, and leaving a comment below. And I will also be leaving a link to Deadponic's channel in the description below. So keep an eye for that.
And one last thing before I go. 1A, 1A, 1A. I had to. I had to.
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah.
all right.
But in the meantime, this is King Orange.
Signing off. We're signing off.
Yep.
Later, guys.
Yeah, yeah. King Orange sign off. Peace.